I'm grateful to be invited, and I'm just honored to be here with all of you today. Catherine's asked me to share my personal leadership journey. I'm not really sure when that started or where I am with it right now, but we'll see if we can accomplish that goal. It's an honor to be here, knowing especially that you launched this in Jay Byers' honor. Earlier this week, I was eavesdropping and I overheard a father and young son chatting. The little boy, around 6, said that he couldn't wait to be 60. Well, this fell into the category of kids say the darndest things, and the young father in his 30s chuckled and asked, why? The young boy said, very earnestly, as 6-year-olds can be so earnest, that he wanted to know everything, just like his Papa Jack. So perhaps with age indeed does come wisdom, or at least the perception of it. As Catherine said, I was born and raised in Greene County. Both my parents came from hardworking farm folk lineage. My dad, German, my mother, English, with my father's family arriving in time for the American Revolution. I took my first job when I was 11, walking beans for Willard Hostler, and I worked in Willard's fields for 10 summers, chopping out sunflowers, pulling butterprint. Who knows what a butterprint wheat is? No farmers in the room. Thank you. Thank you. I learned the value of hard work, and I delighted in the accumulation of cash under my bed. My high school guidance counselor, Mr. Lindbergh, called me to his office to have the "what are you doing after graduation" chat. And I did not know. I had nothing. He slid an aptitude test across his desk, and he sat patiently watching me while I completed it. After a couple of days, he called me back to his office to inform me that I would become an accountant. Earnestly, as that 6-year-old boy, I asked, how does someone become an accountant? I knew no professional people. Nobody in my family had gone to college. So he slid an application across his desk to Iowa State University. And he told me to return it completed by the end of the week. Mr. Lindbergh then covered the fee because I didn't have it. He paid for the postage, and he submitted my application to attend Iowa State University. I was shocked when I received an acceptance letter several weeks later. I was the first in my family to attend college and would be the only member of my generation to graduate from a university. I earned decent grades. I joined the necessary business clubs, and I assumed a few key leadership roles. My senior year, I was president of the student council for the Sciences and Humanities College. Well, when I graduated in 1983, who remembers? The economy was awful. Fortunately, I had a decent enough resume to snag a couple offers from Big 8 CPA firms. And that spring, I used what little savings I had to purchase a couple of suits, skirts, not pants, a few white button-down cotton shirts, several colorful bow tie, the silk bow ties that we were wearing, you know, Marnie, that we wore, that you know, a pair of no-nonsense black pumps, and a pile of pantyhose because that was expected. And I went to work for Ernst & Winnie in Des Moines, now Ernst & Young. It was very much a male-dominated industry. We had to work harder than men to gain equal recognition. And in 1983, women earned 78 cents for every dollar a man earned. And Marnie, you know, you remember those days. Shortly after joining the Des Moines office of Ernst & Young, I was sent away to learn the MS-DOS operating system. Who remembers it? Okay. And I learned how to operate our first ever portable computers and printers. So in CPA days, you used to pull big trunks full of files around with you. Well, we migrated to computer and printer, and the computer and printer were each the size of a carry-on suitcase, and they each weighed between 40 and 50 pounds. And it was my job to teach the others in my office how to use that equipment. In 1980, while at Cass County Memorial Hospital, I spent 6 weeks in Boston learning how to implement a multi-departmental medical information system. Yet today, one of my kids must come and turn the flashlight off on my phone for me. At John Deere Finance, I was given responsibility to build the Sarbanes-Oxley solution, which would keep Bob Lane, our CEO, out of jail. And then I traveled the world implementing that system. I designed a community engagement program for DuPont Pioneer. And again, I traveled the world helping our customer communities improve. And then there was the food bank. At the food bank, I was hired to transform a failing operation into a high-performing organization. I knew nothing about food security, warehousing, trucking. My dad asked me, do they know that you don't know anything about this? And they did know that I knew nothing about any of that. This proved to be my most challenging and most fulfilling assignment to date. And over the years, I've benefited greatly from corporations which invested in employee development. John Deere and Pioneer provided intensive training in diversity, cultural awareness, negotiation, conflict resolution, leadership, supervision, management, as well as writing, presentation skills, public speaking, and media. I'm grateful for the investment that corporations made in me. Over time, I realized that I was at my very best when a situation was at its very worst. And that says something about me as well. Later, Whitney. I was easily bored when it was status quo, but thrived and was energized when something needed to be built or fixed or found. And I said yes to every hard and or ugly assignment that came my way. A visionary leader is one who can see beyond the immediate challenges and opportunities to envision futures that others might not see. This leader is a good listener, learns quickly, breaks down complex problems, and efficiently develops and implements innovative solutions, driving long-term business success, not success for today or tomorrow, but well into the future. A visionary leader must be adept at working across multiple levels of complex organizations. They must navigate complexity, develop and energize teams, and negotiate barriers to ensure success. Most of all, they must be patient to allow others to see the value in their vision, and they must bring others along on their journey. Collaborative leaders identify and understand the needs, concerns, and interests of various stakeholders, including executives, directors, coworkers, customers, regulators, communities. Transformational leaders possess several key characteristics, including the abilities to articulate a clear vision, inspire and motivate others, and foster an inclusive and supportive culture, as well as encouraging innovation and creativity. They're also adept at making difficult decisions and navigating complex challenges. They lead by example, doing the hard right versus the easy wrong. You see how these all kind of weave together. Cultural leadership, organizational culture. We've all been in those environments where we don't want to go to work. It's not a pleasant place to be. A positive organizational culture is essential for creating an environment where employees feel valued, supported, motivated. The motto at the Food Bank of Iowa was all for one and one for all. People showed up every day to support the success of the person sitting next to them, because when we do that, more people were fed. Resilience is cultivated by embracing difficulties as moments for growth, reflection, adaptation. Every leader, no matter how skilled, and you know what I'm talking about, will inevitably encounter obstacles and setbacks along their path to achievement. The mark of true leadership lies not in the avoidance of challenges, but in the willingness to confront them head on, transforming adversity into opportunity, overcoming failure, forging onward. Failure, though often feared because it hurts like hell, is an essential ingredient in the recipe for long-term success. Catherine asked us to talk about lessons learned. Well, the lessons learned along the way have been plentiful, which I will attempt to summarize into a couple themes. Court and advocate. This is a well-kept secret in the corporate world. Many people talk about the value of mentorship. Knowing people who you trust and you can call for advice or to vent is important, but vitally critical to your success is having a fierce advocate or sponsor. Sponsorship is a more active form of mentorship where a senior level leader uses their personal influence to directly support and promote a junior colleague for advancement. Sponsors actively use their social capital to create opportunities for their proteges, advocating for them in high-level meetings, nominating them for key projects, and publicly celebrating their successes. Early on, I understood the value of mentors. I realized later in my career that I should have spent more time cultivating sponsors. Number 2, make self-care a priority. I've always been one to work wholeheartedly. At times, I was so focused on the task at hand that I ignored my personal needs and disregarded my health. You might be able to ignore or mask over mental and physical shortcomings when life is smooth sailing, but this strategy can be catastrophic when you hit rough seas. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, which requires calling upon mental and physical reserves, digging deep to pull up everything you've got in order to get out of bed and move forward for another day. I regret I did not commit to a high standard of self-care earlier in my career. Last but not least, protect yourself from power. A must-read for every professional who aspires a seat at the top is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. That book is described as vital for people who want power, people who watch power, or people who want to arm themselves against power. It's the encyclopedia of historic power plays and political gamemanship. At many points in my career, I've been naive, I've been trusting. I would have benefited greatly from Mr. Greene's tutorial of how the dark side functions. Jeff Rommel at the time was the board chair for the Food Bank of Iowa. And Suku texted, they had Wi-Fi in the jet and coffee and orange juice and other things, I'm sure. But Suku texted and he said, I'm with Jeff Rommel. He's the board chair for the Food Bank of Iowa. They're looking for their next leader. Are you interested? So I texted Suku back and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Within moments, another text arrived. He said, great, I'll tell Jeff you're interested and he's going to call you Monday. For those of you who know Suku, perfect. And a few months later, I found myself at the helm of Food Bank of Iowa. At the time, failing Feeding America Food Bank, out of 200, it was the third worst in the entire network. We were given 12 months to turn the operation around. As I said at the very beginning of the conversation, I like to build and fix things, and I get bored with status quo. In fact, if I stick around too long, I'll fix it again and again and again. So having done what they asked me to do to turn around a failing Feeding America Food Bank, it was time for me to leave that organization in the very good hands of the highest quality team I have ever worked with. And if you've not yet met Tammy Nielsen, the new CEO of the Food Bank of Iowa, I encourage you to reach out, visit the Food Bank of Iowa, take a tour. These people are phenomenal. What they do every single day is extraordinary. Moving 2.6 million pounds of food every single month across 55 Iowa counties. Catherine asked us to reflect on a lifetime of leadership, and I'm really not sure when that started, if it ever did, but I do know that I have strived to consistently take responsibility for my own life and actions. I have hoped to inspire and influence others toward a shared purpose. I've worked toward continuous improvement through self-awareness and resilience. And I remain committed to serving and empowering those around me, which I believe is the very essence of leadership. And with this definition, all of us are leaders. I hope by sharing some insights that I provided valuable lessons you can apply in your own lives. I spent weeks writing this speech. It didn't occur to me to use AI. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But as I reviewed it one last time last night, I realized I really just want you to leave here with a commitment to do 3 things. And they may sound simple, but in reality, the commitment can be challenging. Number 1, be honest. Act with integrity and treat others with respect. Make a commitment to do that. Number 2, be hardworking. Strive to add value in everything you do and every interaction you have. And number 3, be kind. For God's sake, be kind. Show up for people. I thank you for your time and attention this afternoon. We all owe Catherine Harrington a debt of gratitude for organizing these conversations. Catherine's a bold and innovative leader, and our community, especially West Des Moines, is fortunate to have the benefit of her leadership. Lastly, Catherine asked me to say what I hope my legacy will be. I hope I'm remembered as someone who cared for their family, their teammates, and their community. And I hope I'm remembered as someone who tried to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Thank you.
Wow.